Hey everybody, it's Robert coming to you with another adventure into history. Today Cecil and I are in Talbot County, Georgia, and we are at a burial ground that began as burial ground for people who were enslaved on a nearby plantation, possibly the Drain plantation, and descendants continued using this burial space. And we're going to be taking a look at it today. Let's have a look. I already see a very special headstone, and I see a lot of graves out here. We've got field stones marking graves, indention. But let's look at this old headstone right here. This is a really special headstone. I've talked a lot about these before on previous videos. This is a plaster and concrete headstone made by a concrete and plaster artist out of Atlanta, Georgia. And he was named Eldren Bailey. And he made these stones. He made them at a time as a cheap alternative for the African American community, an alternative to marble. And they were kind of supposed to be a temporary marker, but they've really stood the test of time. So this is, there's different, really different, interesting details to an Eldren Bailey stone. For one, he's usually got some different kind of art. Here, a lot of times it's a flower. There's the funeral home that handled it. And he always put Mr., Mrs., Dr., Reverend on the stones to honor these people. This is Mrs. Mary L. Brown. She was born in 1882 and died in 1918. Died February 10th, 1918. Very special headstones to see. We've got unmarked grave here. Unmarked grave there. We do have a marked grave here. This is concrete, which we see a lot of. Concrete headstones, very common in the African American cemeteries that we document. Maddie Brown, September 12th, 1892 to September 22nd, 1960. That might be 1966. Again, these two deep indention. Another concrete headstone here. Gus Foy, August 27th, 1899 to March 4th, 1972. Now, interestingly enough, we just saw the burials of some Foys over in nearby Carsonville. Unmarked grave there. Unmarked grave there. Rows of graves out here. See, unmarked grave, unmarked grave, unmarked grave, so on and so forth. The unmarked grave was surrounded by just probably 100 graves, 100 unmarked graves here. And I don't know if you can tell, maybe you can in the shadows, I'll highlight them with a flashlight, but all the graves through there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unmarked grave. They're really all over throughout here. There's another, what looks like Eldren Bailey stone up there. And then we've got this one here. We've got more concrete art here on this grave with the cross. There's a thick amount of leaves and dirt on this stone. Brush wouldn't even come close to helping you. No engraving. Rough concrete. So here's another Eldren Bailey stone, and we can kind of see something if we want to take a moment to notice. First of all, a lot of graves up here, a lot of indentions. Hopefully they show up. All up here. And we're on top of the hill right now, and the burials go down the hill down there.
The plaster's missing.
Yeah. Yeah, probably just all... Oh, man, that's too bad. There it is. It could have been because it's leaned back and the sun was hitting, or the rain was hitting it and wearing the plaster away. But there's all the plaster that would have had all the information on it for this headstone. Just on the ground there. That's too bad. That's one of the first damaged Eldren Bailey stones I've ever seen, or one of the first that succumbed to that sort of thing. Unmarked grave, appear to be children, two small indentions. You've got Jane Brown, born 1857, died 1927, age 70. Bush Brown, born 1856, died 1936, age 80. And something you have to take a minute and think about is the fact that these people, these two here, Jane and Bush, were probably born enslaved. I mean, they almost certainly were. Is this what this cemetery began as burial ground for people who were enslaved and is born in times of enslavement? This is Fred Sanford, not Fred G. Sanford, just Fred Sanford. December 15th, 1910 to October 27th, 1964. You got to go up the hill. So many graves out here. Indention. So many graves up here. Now this is a concrete stone. I thought this was going to be a marble stone at first, but this is a concrete stone. In memory of TJ, son of Tom and Mary Alice Mallory. June 16th, 18, that's too bad, I can't read that. 1926 was the death date. Darling, we miss thee. I wonder if that's 1918. It looks like 1818, but maybe it's 1918. It's obviously 1926. And sounds like this was a child. Indention, deep indention, probably visible on camera. It's a military headstone down there. Go look at it real quick. Didn't even see these. There's two graves right there. There's a concrete. John Drain, Georgia, Private 22nd Company, new receiving, World War I, December 25th, 1896 to October 23rd, 1963. Y'all have to tell me what that unit was, because that's new on me. New receiving corps. Concrete grave, no engraving. Indention. Big indention right there. Really noticeable. Another Bailey headstone, that's cool. So this is what I was talking about earlier with kind of the design on the top of this one. Hines, Mrs. Ola L. Mizell, 10/6/1971, so this is a little bit of a newer one. And that Hines is going to be like the funeral home or undertaker. So anytime we're walking through a place like this, we're only able to get a few names, but I think that it's so important to acknowledge how many burials there are out here. We only get a few names. Every one of these people was alive, just like the ones that we can get the names on. So even though we don't have their names, all their stories matter, just like all the marked graves do.
Indentions going all the way up with field stones.
Yeah. We've got a little bit more of marked graves here. Robert Russell, May 4th, 1903 to 10/21, 1985. We're getting so new. It's amazing, really. Barbed wire wrapped around here. No engraving or name on it, unfortunately. Or is there? I thought I saw something on the camera screen. Is it on the back? Nope. And these slabs are all blank. You know what? I gotta do this. This is supposed to be standing up. So just go ahead and, there we go. Stand that back up like it's supposed to be for Mr. Robert Russell. Indentions all throughout here. So many graves. And I see a funeral home placard up here. These are meant to be temporary, placed by the funeral home until a proper marker could be made. And so many times the marker never, was never placed here, so they would have the information on a piece of paper behind glass on here, and they were designed to be temporary. So once that piece of paper is gone, you lose everything. Unmarked grave, concrete slab. Those are all of the marked graves that are out here, but this is a huge cemetery. There's, at least, 100 graves out here, probably a couple hundred graves, as many as we were walking through. There's a lot of graves out here, but very few names. Somebody's researching a place like this, and this is a kind of a good tip. What we've been able to do is, we find people who would have had death certificates, like Gus Foy, some of these other graves that are buried after 1916. Well, you generally have a death certificate. Usually the death certificate gives a name for the cemetery. If you can find a name for the cemetery, whatever it was called, you can find more death certificates for people who were buried out here. And you will know where they are at via those death certificates, even though they're not marked in the cemetery. Plus putting together family connections, like if you figure out that Gus Foy was married and his wife was supposed to be buried here too, and you have an unmarked grave right beside him, it could be her, that sort of thing. And then when you're able to look at death, when you start building a genealogy for people like this, when you just have a handful of names, and you start building that genealogy, maybe find some of those newer death certificates, you can find out more people who were buried here who are otherwise unknown. So being able to do that research, you can build, even in a cemetery that only has 5 names, having those 5 names allows us and can allow other people who are researching sites like this to build a list of people who are probably buried here. So just a little bit of insight on that. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you to Cecil as always, and we will see you next time on another adventure into history.